All right, cool. Joe Leonard here with Collin Johns. Welcome to, this isn't my basement. We are at the Frederick. I usually do it from my basement. So my intro is, hi, Joe Leonard here. Welcome to my basement. But luckily we're not in my basement, and Collin appreciates that. We are actually at the Frederick Dill Dinkers. And we have a super special guest today in Collin Johns. We have some coached open play going on, and Collin graciously agreed to come and answer a few questions, do a little interview prior, which we really appreciate. Welcome.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you being here. I know it's the holidays, and you're probably back here visiting with family and stuff. And,
Indeed, yes.
You know, that's cool. Yeah, so you're from Laytonsville, right?
Yes, that's correct. Most people don't know where that is. Usually I say I'm from either DC if I'm out of the country, or I say Gaithersburg for people who are from Maryland.
I know. Well, I'm from Bethesda, and I actually looked up Laytonsville last night, just in my research trying to be ready. And it said less than 600 people. And I'm trying, where is Laytonsville? I know there's a golf course there. My brother and I played there before. And it's kind of northwest of Rockville, west of Gaithersburg, north of Olney, but south of, so it's a tiny little.
If you go a little further, then you're in Damascus.
Right.
So, yeah, it's right that little tiny area. So I grew up off of Route 124. So
okay.
There in Laytonsville.
124 and 108. Good for you. So the Johns family, you come from a big family. You make up half the population of Laytonsville, right?
I haven't heard it put that way, but it's not far off.
Cool. What? So is it 2 boys and the rest girls?
Yeah, so 7 total. I'm the oldest of 7. I just have the one brother and then the rest sisters.
Got it. And we know Hannah is the reporter and commentator that we see all the time. She does a great job. And then you have a younger sister that is working her way into pro pickleball, right?
More or less. I don't think that she has pro aspirations.
Oh, is that right?
Just yet. I mean, she's played at some higher levels. Maybe some lower qualifier events, 4-5, 5-0. I don't want to put too much pressure on her. It's not like she's an aspiring pro, but certainly she's gotten pretty good here. And if she does have aspirations later on, then we'll certainly welcome that.
Cool. Yeah, I was going to ask her who is coaching her. What's her name?
That's Georgia.
Georgia. Awesome. I wrote down 31 years old. Is that right?
That is right.
The internet is crazy. It's like one had you 29, one had you 31, one had you playing with your brother Patrick. I'm like, who's Patrick? It's the information
a little
online.
known fact, right?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know who that is.
You never know what you can dig up on the internet.
I know it's crazy. So I did dig this up on the internet. World #1 men's doubles player. I don't know if you know this, but I went on the PPA website, and your name is at the top of that list. #1, age 31, 14,700 points. Well, we really appreciate you being here. So we've got this new Frederick Dill Dinkers Club. What do you think?
Oh, it's awesome. Dill Dinkers and I partnered up earlier this year, so I became their first global brand ambassador. And I've been doing a lot of events like this, sort of a kickoff to the newer clubs. And it's just great to see Dill Dinkers growing, especially here in Maryland, because I've been in Maryland long enough to know that there were no indoor courts at one point. In fact, there were only 2 permanent courts in the whole state.
Exactly.
And that was in Appleton Park, as you probably know.
I don't even know Appleton Park. And Frederick is way behind.
Yeah, way behind.
So we would do chalk. We'd take chalk and get a temp net. First thing I did was buy a temporary net, and we'd do chalk and hope it didn't rain, because then all the chalk would be gone.
Yes,
and then we'd do tape,
right? And then you use like the little Sharpie. No one can notice unless you're looking for it.
I hope the tennis players don't notice the Sharpie on their courts.
In the corners, just so you can chalk it out.
I know. And then they built the one at King Farm in Rockville.
Yes.
Right? Stepanek Park, something like that.
Do you remember when they had to redo the lines there at the very beginning because they mismeasured the kitchen on one of the courts?
Yeah, I did.
They fixed it quickly, but I remember we went there and we're like, something feels off. I feel very tall right now.
Oh, that's funny.
And it was a 6-foot kitchen, not a 7-foot kitchen.
Oh, no
kidding. I think they had messed up the measurements somehow, but yeah.
There were no courts. Then they built those, and I would hear stories. Oh, guess who was down at King Farm Park? Ben and Collin were there, and we got, and I'm like, gosh, I always miss them, One day I was down there drilling with Jill, my wife, and who's next to us? She's all Franklined up. I'm like, Jill, I know that's Christine McGrath, and sure enough, sort of had to geek out and ask her, and she was very sweet and very kind. She was training with some pro. I didn't know who it was, but yeah. So the old days of no courts, and now every time we're in here, I really pinch myself and just like, man, I'm so lucky to have this now. Because we don't have really anything of this caliber.
No, I mean all the Dill Dinkers have that quality standard
Yeah.
across the board, and they're expanding all over Maryland. We're here in Frederick. I did an opening for them up in Connecticut not that long ago,
Right.
and that was awesome. So clearly they're expanding outside of Maryland, and I know they just opened something in Florida. So it's just really cool to see their brand grow and to spread the great game of pickleball.
Right. And we're very excited to have them here in town. So I have, some basic questions, and I'll just throw them out there. And anything you don't want to answer, you just, I know you're a pro at it, so don't worry. This is all about you. Now the elephant in the room is we've got some big news this weekend. Um, that you and Ben are not going to be playing together in 2025, at least for the beginning for the year. I did see some stuff that you might plan a couple things early on, but I don't know if there's any truth to that. Did you want to just sort of
Clear the air.
clue it? Yeah, whatever the right words are. I'm not a professional interviewer, so I apologize if I'm choking on my words, but yeah.
Yeah, it's going to come up, and certainly happy to address that question. And Ben and I have had a really good run together. Certainly finishing world #1 team 3 years in a row is nothing to hang your head about.
Oh my
So,
gosh, yeah.
so I'm really happy about what we accomplished as a doubles team, as brothers. There's nothing really more cool than to play with your brother and win the top tournaments in the world. So
Yeah.
certainly have to look back and look at the accomplishments and be proud of those. But looking forward, I think it's mentally a good thing for us to take a break. And we're not saying that this is indefinite necessarily, but I think that sometimes it can get just a little bit stale, the same old thing. Um, Not that that is something that we ever struggled with in the past, but you get pushed harder and harder, the pressure to perform and so forth. And I feel like that mental break of playing with somebody else and freshening it up and changing up our training a bit, I think it's going to be good for both of us. At times, we've struggled throughout the year to keep a positive mentality out there. I think that's been pretty evident at times. So for us to go and play with other partners, not that we're not going to see each other and train together, like it's all good. It's not that it was the sort of split that you wouldn't want. It was mutual that we agreed that this is going to be good for both of us. So moving forward, we haven't really set definite partners, but we're not going to be playing together other than maybe one or two early on, because obviously people partner up pretty early in pickleball.
Yeah.
So besides those few early events throughout the 2025 season, we're going to have some different partners. But I'm excited to see what the future holds, and certainly we wish each other the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been amazing watching you guys play together. How commanding and dominating you've been. We go back and we look at the tapes of the events, and we just learn so much from it, and the whole strategy and study of right side, left side. So we really appreciate you and your brother and everything you brought to the game for so long here, and we wish you the best with whatever you guys do. We're going to be cheering you on, whether you're on the same side of the net or the opposite side. Oh, that would be fun. See,
Yeah,
see you
that
guys on the
usually
other
doesn't
side
go
of that.
my direction.
Oh,
I usually come out on the
come on,
losing end of
man.
that.
No. You
But
are
I'm
you
sure.
break it down. You break the, and I don't have the words you use, but you're like the architecture of the point, the way that the why, and the this, that, and the other thing. The rest of us are thinking, globally, and you're really breaking it down like from an engineering perspective. And your background is kinesiology.
No, actually,
So that's wrong. I got that. That's
so
wrong.
Ben's the material science
Right.
engineer. I actually didn't go to college. I was playing pro tennis when I would have been in school. So I don't have a degree, but certainly I have an interest in those sort of topics, and certainly like to break down a pickleball point and kind
Right.
of take you into the inner architecture of how
Right.
the
You
high
use the word
level.
architecture and you start to pull it
Yeah,
apart and why and the
because
way things.
there are really like a lot of layers to the thinking at a high level, and I think that once you kind of get a glimpse of that next level, it interests you even more. I know that was the what I kind of thought as I learned about the game. Because early on, coming from tennis, I was like, how much is there to this game? It looks like pretty much anyone can play. And then you
Right.
find out one thing and you're like, okay, that's interesting. Maybe it's not exactly how I thought. And then you learn another thing and it gets even more interesting. So it's really just those building blocks. And I enjoy taking people inside the point, whether it's in the commentary box or just analyzing a match. Because I think a lot of people don't hear that every day, and
Yeah.
it makes them start to appreciate some of the higher level strategy that exists in pickleball.
Yeah. I heard you commenting on the art of the third shot drop, and you basically said, look, if every pro out there or everybody who's really high level is dropping the tip on the third shot, and every pro top level player is doing it, then that makes sense. That's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of us coaches out there, even though we've been playing a long time and we've been trained for coaching and whatever, we may not necessarily be teaching the latest state of the art kind of skills, which kinds of may tie us into this RPO thing that you have going on outside of the tour. You know, one of the things I was interested to hear about was, of course, what your plans are. You may not even have any plans right now for next year in the tour play, but outside of the tour play, you've got the RPO racket professional organization. Is that what
Yeah.
that is? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, love to. So Racket Pro is something that I founded last year. So Racket Pro is its own organization, but my sponsor Yola was kind enough to back us on that. So it's always great to have their support. And really, we're trying to take the coaching education to a new standard. And I've really wanted to do this for quite some time. New coaching education, which I've had some experience in pickleball, and certainly had a lot of coaching experience in tennis.
Right.
It's definitely been an interest of mine, and I've coached some high-level pro players. So I just really want to spread that knowledge to coaches that want to spread the game of pickleball, because I feel like there hasn't been a modernized guidebook written in quite some time. So whether it's the two-handed backhand, whether it's hitting more third shot drives versus it used to be more third shot drops, like
Right.
making sure that everyone gets that information and passes it on. Because I still teach from time to time, but I feel like I can have a bigger impact by connecting with the coaches and giving them that new knowledge. And it all really starts with starting with beginners and knowing how to connect with them, how to teach people, not just what to teach people, but building on that. Okay, what do I teach at a lower level, and then the
Right.
next level, and ultimately we're going to have stuff for higher level players. But right now, we have a community course. Think of that as almost like an ambassador program, so similar to like what USA Pickleball does.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that you want to teach lessons per se, but you introduce people to the game, might give them some basic knowledge on how to select a paddle, the rules. Those people are super valuable, and we want to capture those people to just spread pickleball in general. Because
Right.
I've never seen a sport like pickleball where people will donate dozens of hours of their time just to help set up nets and courts and spread pickleball just because they love the game. So I think that there needs to be a place for those people, and that leads you into, if you do want to coach some lower level players, whether it's beginners or people first starting out and getting them up to a certain level. We have our level 1 course,
Yeah.
and then building on that, our level 2 course, which should allow you to work with anyone up to say a 4-5 or 5-0 level.
Right.
So I'm really big on the overarching principles of play, to where I like to teach something that applies to a 3-0, but it also applies all the way up to a 5-0.
Right.
So level 2 is really grounded in those principles, and I think it's going to be something that we haven't seen before. And there are no ghostwriters for the level 2 course. Like I've written all of it from A to Z,
Oh, is that right?
and a good amount of level 1. So
Wow.
I feel like that's going to be refreshing to a lot of coaches, and the feedback has been really good so far. We've had a couple of bumps in the road with our online tech, but other than that, it's been really, really cool, and I'm really excited to see where that takes us.
Yeah, as a coach who's been in the coaching game for at least 2 years and more, I'm really looking forward to that and participating in it because, you know, there's always another way, there's always another idea, and we need to take our egos out of the equation and be open to hearing something new, another way to deliver
Mm-hmm.
information. It's actually really, really refreshing to hear that you're going to be bringing this out. I'm very excited to hear more about it and participate in it, because ultimately it's gonna trickle down to all of the people playing pickleball,
Yes,
right?
and that's really where I saw the need the most, because I would go out and teach clinics, especially early on in my pickleball career, and
Mm-hmm.
I would be teaching stuff that to me was sort of natural, and I was like, doesn't everyone know this? And I would hear what they were being taught, and I was just like, there needs to be better general knowledge out there because I feel
Yeah.
bad that you're going and paying money for a lesson
Yeah.
for information that in some cases is just wrong. And
Yeah.
of course that's going to happen. I'm sure it's all well intentioned, but there's so much information out there on places like YouTube and other mediums where
Yeah.
it's hard to sift through the good and the bad. And I think that a credible standard will go a long way towards getting people in the right direction, whether that be players or coaches.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that. Um, I wrote down, can you share your thoughts on your plans for the 25 season? I think we've kind of touched on that. So you are planning on competing.
Yes.
You're not retiring.
I'm not
Okay,
retiring.
I did have.
Although all these ventures besides competing are very interesting to me. So we mentioned RPO a little bit, among other things. Certainly going to be doing more launches like these at Dill Dinkers. So I have a lot of other interests outside of competing, but that doesn't mean that I'm hanging up the paddle just yet.
Yeah, well, that's good. We love to see you out on the court, and I do see these other things that are sort of hovering around you that you're into. One of them was I was wondering if you were going to go like well, you can do a million different things. Is the coaching route for pros? Like you see Lee Waters sitting on the bench when Anna Lee's playing. Is that something you do? Now, Lee Waters I see there, and I just think there's a tremendous value, and we talk about it all the time, for a coach, a personal coach that pro players would have. And it's not like tennis. Isn't in tennis you can't even have hand signals coming from the stands. In pickleball, you can have a coach sitting on your bench,
Yeah,
and when you go for a timeout, they can chat you up and coach you up because
yeah.
when you're in the middle of a match and you're emotionally involved and you're doing your thing, can it be hard to see what's going on? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Where are the weaknesses over there? Is is coaching that kind of thing on in the realm, or is that not even on the list because you got so many other things going on?
Yes, actually, I'm currently coaching a couple of pro players on the female side.
Oh
So
yeah,
I've been working with Tina Pisnick since last summer,
really,
and she actually got most improved on the PPA tour early this year.
dude.
So
I'm telling you, I
I was,
saw
I was,
Pisnick for the first time at MLP in DC,
yes.
and I'm sitting next to Jill. I'm like, I had no idea. How old is Pisnick?
Tina is 43, I think 44 this coming year,
She's
and
a beast, man. We're
she's a beast.
watching her. She's killing it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, my gosh, I'm not even, I don't watch enough of it as much as Jill does. And amazing. You've been coaching her up for a
Over a
while.
year now. So
Wow.
late last summer is when we started working together, and I certainly don't claim all the credit. She's
Has she
the
put a
credit.
tattoo of you on her body yet?
I hope not.
She's
I hope
no.
not. No. Credit to her for working really hard, and to see somebody at her age competing against people much younger and having success. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not an easy feat. So
Yeah.
credit to her, and then working with Etta Wright, who is a tremendous
Oh
talent since the
yeah,
spring of
really.
this year. I feel like she's going to have a breakout 2025.
Awesome.
But it's something that's been an interest of mine, and certainly helped Ben out in singles, and we coach each other. So it's definitely something I see myself doing in the future. Right now, I'm not really coaching any peers per se.
Yeah,
Not that
yeah.
I couldn't play Tina, Netta, and mixed. I have, but it's less a peer sort of relationship than coaching other male pros. So the day that I retire, I would be more open to coaching some of the male side pros. But as you mentioned, it is very valuable in pickleball. It's a very new frontier, and there's sort of a monopoly on the high level
Yeah.
concepts because the top players keep getting to the latter stages of the tournament.
Yeah.
So every time Annalie Waters gets to a final, she's accumulating more and more experience. And that's why I think somebody like Lee Waters is so valuable to the people that she coaches because she has that high level knowledge. And you can't really get it anywhere else right now versus a sport like tennis. You can look to the people that came before.
Mm-hmm.
Boris Becker is coaching Novak Djokovic. It's like, all right, well,
Oh, is that
he
right?
knows what it's like, or he
Yeah.
used to be. He knows what it's like to go into a Wimbledon final,
Yeah.
what the butterflies are like, and what you should be focusing on. But because pro pickleball is so new,
Mm-hmm.
there's nobody that really came before that can tell you what the blueprint is, especially because pickleball is evolving so quickly. So I feel like pro coaches are going to become more and more prolific, and I think it'll get more and more interesting. So it's something that I do right now, and definitely will do more of in the future.
Fantastic. I couldn't imagine having you on my bench, and I'm listening to you talk, and it's so nice to see that you have so many options beyond the tour. You know what I mean? It really is cool. It just feels to me like you've got so much depth and so many options beyond the tour. Everything you're doing with Dill Dinkers and what you're doing with RPO. There's something else out there as I'm trying to do the research. And by the way, I apologize for the kinesiology research. Fire the researcher. It said it right there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, okay, so
I didn't know that I had a kinesiology
yeah, no, I'll have
degree.
to send it to you. Yeah, really. With your brother Patrick.
Yes.
Same conversation. My duper coach. What is that one? Now I know duper, and I know that duper's a little mucky right now, and they're trying to figure it all out and settle it down. But my duper coach is something that you're involved in. Can you tell me what that is?
Yes. So I'll kind of start at the beginning. I got in with a company called My Pickleball Coach, which was a company that transitioned from the golf space, and they had a lot of success with swing analysis and giving people a roadmap to improve their handicap, things like that. And
Mm,
they saw the pickleball space expanding, and I
interesting.
was approached by them to help them come up with a systematic approach to analyze people's film, because
Okay.
I founded Pickleball 360, which is instructional videos with my brother with Deckle Bar, and that provides content from a certain lens to where you'll see a video of me or Ben giving you instruction on how to hit a shot or a certain concept. But my pickleball coach is sort of the opposite end of that lens, to where somebody will submit footage of themselves playing,
Oh,
and
really?
I'll be able to have my assistant team analyze that film in a systematic way to where they can get to a lot of different films, but also make it actionable for the player. So it kind of dawned on me that, hey, there are only so many mistakes that people make out there. Maybe your paddle angle was off, maybe your swing path, maybe your footwork, whatever it is. You can kind of quantify all of those categories. And by training my assistant team to look for those things, the software automatically populates um, homework for that specific, what we call
Wow.
fault. So if it
What you
was
call what?
a fault,
Fault.
so when the player submits their film, all right, we identify a certain fault. You keep swinging too linearly instead of low to high. We have a drill for that, similar to what they did in the golf space, where they would show you a YouTube clip or something to help you improve. So you might think of it as homework
Yeah.
that's coming from the assistant team, and it's all generated automatically on the back end. So it's a very cool system, and we didn't have a ton of success with that early on because it's a little bit abstract. And of course, you need to set up a video camera, you need to download the app, you got to upload the film, you got to go back and forth with the coach. So the process wasn't streamlined right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, we've had more and more people sign up for it. But something we pivoted to get into the Duper Coach is there's a need out there these days to give people ratings. And
Yeah.
people show up at a facility and
Oh,
they want to know, how good am I?
oh my gosh.
Where should I
You're
play?
preaching to the choir,
I
man.
know. And what we did is we pivoted from my pickleball coach to partner with Duper,
Yeah.
and we created something called my Duper Coach. And the team has done a great job with the program there, to where we will train coaches to identify several key metrics when looking at play. So when somebody turns up and they go to the coach and say, hey, look, I would love to have a rating so I know where to play an open play.
Yeah.
Now we have a tool for the coach to analyze that person's play, and not just that, actually links into Duper and gives them a, what we call a provisional Duper. So it's
Really?
not an
Wow.
official
That's a
Duper.
big
It's
deal.
a big deal, and it's very convenient to use. So you could go out here, see four people playing, and you don't have to ask them to do anything special. You can say, guys, just play points for 10 minutes, and I'm going to analyze your play, and I'm going to submit it right here in the app, and then your provisional duper will appear. So I think that's going to be a really, really big thing, especially internationally, where they don't really have any
Oh,
sort of standard to
wow.
begin with. And it should be pretty impartial, because you're getting this film submitted
Yeah.
to coaches that see, okay, in the US, let's just say the 3-5 level is here. A 3-5 could do XYZ things with their skills.
Yeah.
So looking at players in Vietnam, they can say, look, you're not a 4-0, you're more like a 3-5, and it sets that standard to where people are going to have a more enjoyable experience. They know where to play, and they also know where they stand, not just in their country, but worldwide, which I think is really cool. So it really kind of pivoted to bring coaches into the fold, and you have to pay a subscription to be able to assign these provisional dupers. But the business model is people who want ratings are willing to pay for it.
Right.
So a coach is going to pay $200 a year for the duper coach subscription,
Yeah.
but they're going to be able to generate revenue by being able to submit this data to duper. So if each of those players that want the rating, they pay the coach even $10 within a month, you have way more than $200. And
No
I just think
question.
it's an awesome tool for facilities like Dill Dinkers, because you have so many people that come through the doors that don't have a rating
Right.
and that want a rating. So I'm really hoping that that one gains momentum, because I see the need for it, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you do as well.
Oh my gosh, you're really speaking our language. Kirsten Pappas, who's the director of pickleball here, one of the biggest challenges that she has, other than running this whole facility and coaching and do everything she does, is what's my rating? I think I'm a 4.25. I should be playing up, and she wants to take care of all the members, but there's no really great rating system. It used to be in the old days, if you wanted to know what your rating was, you went and played 3-0. You won 3 gold medals. You went with 3-5. You won 3 gold medals and 3-5. You know what I mean?
Trial by fire.
It's not like that anymore. Now it's I bought a $300 paddle. I must be a 4.25. And look, I get it. There's a lot of ego involved. People want to play up, but man, this is this is really cool, because it's going to take the responsibility and the emotion away from the director of pickleball, who's running a club and managing the members, because you want to take care of your members, but you also want to be realistic with them. You know what I mean? You don't want to be.
The director goes over and he says, okay, I'll assign you a rating. And then if you give them a rating lower than what they think they are, they come back to you and say, well, I don't really think that was fair. You didn't watch me play. You need an objective third party. And especially if it's a number, it's hard to argue with that. And it's not to say that it can't change. If it's not quite where it needs to be, this is a provisional duper. Where if you can beat players of a higher caliber, your rating is going to rise. So it's not like it's set in stone. It just gives you a starting place that's relatively close to where you should be starting. And then from there, you can move the needle.
Excellent. I'm really looking forward to that. Are we getting the hook, Brian? Okay, we're getting the hook here. We touched on a lot of things. I'm really glad you touched on that. I saved all the technique and stuff like that just in case you shut me down on anything, which I really appreciate. Look, man, this is you're a pro at this, so it's to be expected. Well, I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you taking the time with some no-name dummy like me to talk about pickleball. It's a real blast. I got a special pen before you get away here. You recognize that paddle?
I do.
Good. It's a very popular paddle.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. I've got 3 or 4 of them sitting behind the desk right now. And if you wouldn't mind throwing your Hancock, that's my demo paddle.
Demo paddle.
Yeah.
Anywhere here?
Anywhere you want, man. Anywhere you want.
Oh yeah, the silver shows up nicely.
Yeah, I'm sitting in CVS trying to figure out which. And somebody told me a silver metallic, so I got lucky.
Yeah, the bronze one actually works really well as well.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure meeting you, and all the best in the future with everything you're doing, either on the tour or beyond the tour. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, cool. Go out and get them.